Hey everyone, so it's a beautiful night outside, so I thought I'd sit out here on the porch with my buddy and discuss the build spec of my 2022 GT500. Now, around October, November 21, that's when I started getting really serious and committing to buying a GT500. So I went down to my local dealer, I got on their list. Unfortunately, I was already like number 5 on their list. I also reached out to a whole bunch of dealers that people recommended, both on this channel and some of the car forums that I network on. I even put a down payment at one dealer. I was number 2 in line, and they have 2 dealers in that network. So I had a pretty good shot there. Unfortunately, they didn't get as many as they were expecting that they normally would. Unfortunately, 2022 is looking to be a pretty bad year. I mean, even if you go on the Ford website now, if you try to do inventory searches or builds, yeah, it has a window that pops up that basically says, due to supply chain constraints, they basically can't get the parts to build cars. So 2022 is going to be a pretty bad year. So it wasn't really looking good for a while about finding a dealer that had an allocation that didn't have a huge markup on it. So I thought, all right, well, you know what? The inventories will be rolling in throughout the rest of the year. I kind of see what the dealers have coming in and what kind of markups the dealers are going to have. Now, because this is such an expensive car, same thing with my 350R, I really didn't want to compromise on a lot of stuff. If I'm spending this much money on a car, I don't want to just buy something to buy. I want to get something that I pretty much to the spec I want. Now, some of the things that were no compromise to me for options was, number 1, carbon fiber track pack. Now, I know I'm not racing the car, I don't need it, but I think that the carbon fiber track pack, even though it is very expensive, I think it just makes the car look like $1,000,000. The high gloss exposed carbon fiber of the wheels and the wing just make the car look incredible. I think that really nice woven carbon fiber looks absolutely incredible. So I really wanted to have the carbon fiber track pack as well as the technology package, both for the nicer stereo and the added driver's aids for the tech package. So those are 2 options that I really wasn't willing to compromise on. The one thing that I was willing to do a little bit of a compromise on was the color. Obviously, race red was choice number 1, but I had actually been looking at some other colors from some of the leftover 21s that were there. I like the black with no stripes. I actually went and looked at one at a dealer out in PA a while ago just to see it in person. Black looks awesome with no stripes. It looks menacing. It looks like the Batmobile. The only thing that I don't like about black is you lose some of the detail of the car. Obviously, a lot of the trim pieces are black, both painted gloss black and flat black. So to have everything black, you kind of lose some of the detail of the car. Definitely not a bad color. I think it's beautiful. Black looks great on everything. Trying to keep it clean is another story, but I think it looks absolutely incredible in black, especially the red calipers, and it looks awesome. So that was a kind of color I was kind of keeping an eye out for. Same thing with Oxford white. That was kind of towards the back of the colors that I like. Oxford white with no stripes as well. I see a little bit more detail having the contrast of the black trim on the white looks good. And another color I had kind of been keeping an eye on was, at the time, it was Velocity blue with white stripes. I saw one out in North Carolina. It was a leftover 21. The dealer kept listing it on eBay over and over again. And he obviously had reserve on it, but the highest, it was a 106 MSRP car, but the highest it would bid up on eBay was like 111. So it was only bidding like 5 over. He kept relisting it over and over again, and he kept upping the starting bid price, but it would get no action. So pretty much 111 was where people were stopping. So 5 over. So not bad. But that color looks good. You know, I mean, blue with white stripes is probably the most traditional Shelby color you could ask for. So I like that look too. So when Chad Powell had reached out to me about a month ago now and had recommended his dealer down in Georgia, when I spoke with the general manager down there, he said they normally expect to get more. They got their initial round of allocations and they expect to get more, but at this point they had no allocations left for carbon fiber track pack cars. They had one coming in for stock, and it was Atlas blue with white stripes. Now, wasn't 100% interested in it right away. I was still looking for red. He actually did me a spec for a red one. But the more I talk to people, it looks like they're probably not going to do a 23, and it's really looking like it's going to be a bad year, and the dealers may not get additional rounds of allocations. More and more people are talking about that they're going to get their their initial batch, and that's going to be it. There's going to be no secondary or any more rounds of allocations. Who knows if they will or won't? Nobody knows yet. I guess we'll kind of see how this year pans out. So I did the build spec with red, and I left it with him. And then a couple of days later, I'm like, you know what? Just send me the build on that blue one. I was kind of like, all right, just let me take a look at it. I didn't know. I just knew it was blue. I didn't know the actual build spec. So he sends me the spec. It is carbon fiber track pack tech package, Atlas blue with the tape white stripes over the top. So, all right, stickers for like 103. So I'm like, okay, I'll kind of keep this in mind. I'm like, you know what? I've never actually seen Atlas. Well, I think I've seen Atlas blue in person on like an Explorer a while back, but I didn't really remember exactly what it looked like because I never looked at it in detail. So I went on the Ford website and looked at the inventory of one of the dealers that was about 40 minutes away from me, and they had just a regular EcoBoost Mustang in Atlas blue. So I took a trip down there with my father one day to look at the car. Now, it was a really overcast day. There was no sun, and I looked at the car and I was like, I really wasn't too impressed with the color just because it was so overcast. Now, it's a metallic color, and you can kind of see the flake in the paint, but it didn't really stand out because it was just so dark outside. So I was like, all right, I'll kind of keep it in mind, but I'm not too sure about this. So like a couple days later, it was a real nice sunny day, and I noticed that my local dealer that I normally buy from had an Atlas blue F-150 in stock. So I'm like, well, let me go look at this color actually in the sun and see what it looks like. Well, the color looks dramatically different in the sun. You can definitely see the metallic in the paint. It's much more pronounced. Atlas blue, from what I can tell, looks to be along the lines of like how Lightning blue was, that color that they had a few years ago on the Mustangs. It's darker than Velocity blue, but it's lighter than Kona blue. So it's way lighter than antimatter blue, and it's way darker than like grabber blue would be. So it's like a middle of the road blue, a very traditional Shelby-ish color blue with the white stripes to accent it. You know, that's when I really looked at that color. I'm like, you know, this is actually this is a doable color. You know, I looked at the blue white stripes before, and I really liked it. I actually managed to see an Atlas blue Explorer next to Velocity blue Mustang, and in really bright sunlight, I actually liked the Atlas blue a lot better. It had a nice. It wasn't too light, but it wasn't too dark in bright sunlight. So I called him back and basically said, you know what, let me put a down payment on this car. So I mean, worst case, I could always just, if I wanted to pass it up with an allocation for another car, I could. But at this point, I think I'm just going to stick with it. I think this is a great color to accent my 350R being race red, having a blue with white stripe car. So that's kind of how I came to it. The color was the main thing that I was willing to compromise on with a few other colors out there. So they're doing a ton of colors for 2022, but I was definitely like the more traditional colors, especially that blue with the white stripes. I think this car is going to be really nice. It is scheduled to be built June 6th, so that's like 2 days from now. I haven't heard anything about this thing getting pushed back, so it's definitely looking like this is still going to happen on June 6th. I'll definitely keep an eye on it, see how it goes, but so the car is going to be a 103 MSRP car, blue with white stripes. So that's going to be the spec of the car. And the more I see that color in photos and I see that color scheme on other cars, I think it's going to be a color that's really going to work well with my race red 350R. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and there's much more to come once the 500 arrives. I'm hoping no later than sometime in August. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.